I was hiding from my abusive father at my uncle's house when I met my husband. My abusive father chased me and scratched my shoulder. My husband protected me and killed my abusive father. Facing doubts from the wolf pack, power struggles, and a coup crisis, we fought side by side. The next morning, I followed Jenna around the veterinary clinic to get acquainted with the place. Smiling, Jenna handed me a file on the ranch's horses. We've got over 50 horses here, most of them thoroughbreds and stallions, plus a few rescued injured horses. The one Dawson trains, Lightning, is the most mischievous of them all. He twisted his hoof just last week, so you can take a look at him today. Dawson. My fingers tightened slightly as I held the file. The same guy who was leaning against the stable door yesterday, Jenna said with a raised eyebrow and a smile. He's our ranch's best horse trainer, and also a skilled hunter in the wolf pack. He's got incredible agility and prowess. Still, he's rather reclusive and seldom initiates conversations with others. But he seems unusually attentive toward you. Just as I was about to ask more, the clinic door suddenly swung open. Dawson walked in, leading a chestnut-colored horse. Up close, I could see his features much more clearly. His dark brown hair was slightly disheveled, his stubble neatly trimmed, his nose was high and straight, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile lingered at the corners of his lips. I crouched down to examine Lightning's hooves. As soon as my fingertips brushed against the horseshoe, Lightning suddenly tossed his foreleg restlessly. Dawson, quick as a flash, swiftly grabbed the horse's reins and whispered something softly to him. Instantly, Lightning calmed down and docilely lowered his head. In the third week of adapting to life on the ranch, Uncle Tobias suddenly called. His voice over the phone carried a suppressed anger. Grady has escaped. He injured 2 law enforcement officers and is now missing. There's a chance he might come looking for you. Uncle Gab immediately stepped up security around the ranch, placing cameras in every corner. Dawson also volunteered to take charge of night watch duty. Every evening, from the attic window, I could spot his figure, his green eyes scanning the ranch's every nook and cranny alertly in the darkness. One evening, I couldn't fall asleep, so I went downstairs to the stable to check on Bailey and Buck. As soon as I stepped into the hallway, I saw Dawson leaning against the railing, smoking a cigarette. Hearing my footsteps, he turned his head and crushed the cigarette under his foot. "Can't sleep?" he asked. I said, walking over to him and gazing toward the distant fence. "I'm worried Grady might come back." "Don't worry. While I'm here, he won't get in." Dawson's voice was firm, his green eyes brimming with conviction. The wolf pack doesn't allow abusers to harm their own kind, especially the loved ones of an alpha. "I'll protect you and your mom." "Why are you helping me?" I turned to look at him, unable to hold back the question that had been weighing on my mind. He fell silent for a few seconds, then slowly replied, "At the gas station in Idaho, when I saw the bruises on your mom's face and the wound on your leg, I knew exactly what you'd been through. The wolf pack's rule is to protect the weak, and also to protect those who deserve protection." He paused, a hint of tenderness flickering in his green eyes. "Besides, the first time I saw you at the rest stop, I just knew you were special." His words made my heart skip a beat. Just as I was about to reply, the ranch's alarm suddenly blared out in a piercing shriek, and the deafening crash of the fence being torn apart shattered the night air. Dawson's expression turned deadly serious in an instant. He yanked me behind him, his green eyes instantly sharp as blades. "Stay right here, don't move," he growled. Before he could finish speaking, a frenzied figure burst through the broken fence, charging toward us like a wild boar gone berserk. It was Grady. His body was covered in blood, his clothes tattered and ragged. His sunken eye sockets made his already bloodshot eyes look redder than ever, almost dripping with fury. A sinister grin curled up at the corners of his mouth as he bellowed, "I've found you, my daughter." His gaze locked firmly on me, completely ignoring Dawson, who had stepped in front of me. Suddenly, he drew a rusty dagger from his waist. Before Uncle Gab and the hunters could arrive, Dawson instantly transformed into a massive chocolate-colored wolf. His enormous body surged forward, blocking my path, and a deafening roar rumbled deep in his throat, warning Grady to back off. But Grady was already completely mad. He sidestepped the giant wolf and charged straight toward my mom, just as she was stepping out of the main house, drawn by the commotion, ready to see what was happening. "Mom, watch out." I screamed, rushing toward Grady to stop him. But he moved too fast. With a flick of his wrist, he swung the dagger, and the sharp blade sliced cleanly across my shoulder. A searing, blinding pain exploded through my body, and blood began to flow down my shoulder blade, soaking through my shirt. I stumbled backward and fell to the ground, my vision going black for a moment. Ash. Mom's scream pierced the night sky. Seeing this, Grady didn't stop. He only became even more frenzied, turning around to deliver the final blow to me. Just at that critical moment, Dawson's massive wolf figure shot forward like lightning, slamming Grady violently backward. Grady crashed heavily onto the ground, his dagger flying out of his hand. As he tried to scramble to his feet, Dawson had already pounced on him, his sharp fangs sinking into Grady's neck with such force that Grady let out a heart-wrenching, ear-piercing scream. The wolf's green eyes burned with fury, staring at Grady as if he were already dead. If Uncle Gab hadn't arrived in time to intervene and shout a stern warning, Grady would probably have been torn to shreds right then and there. Leave him with just enough life to be dealt with according to Wolf Clan law. Uncle Gab's voice carried an air of authority. Dawson growled lowly, releasing his grip on Grady's neck, but he still held Grady tightly by the limbs, his green eyes blazing with anger that refused to subside for a long time. The hunters immediately stepped forward and tightly bound Grady with specially designed chains. Dawson swiftly reverted to his human form, ignoring the bloodstains on his clothes. He rushed to my side, carefully helping me up, his voice filled with anxiety and self-reproach. "Are you okay? Is the injury serious?" His fingers gently touched my wound, a gesture so tender it seemed utterly unlike the fierce hunter he'd been just moments before. Enduring the searing pain, I looked into his green eyes, brimming with concern, and shook my head. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Yet the blood kept flowing steadily, and the throbbing pain in my shoulder made it nearly impossible for me to stand. Without a word, Dawson quickly took off his denim jacket, wrapped it around my shoulder, and pressed firmly to staunch the bleeding. Then he lifted me up sideways and began walking briskly toward the clinic. His embrace was warm and solid, carrying the familiar scent of musk that somehow brought me a flicker of reassurance amidst the excruciating pain. Mom followed behind, trembling all over from crying, muttering again and again, "It's all my fault." Dawson turned around and said to her in a deep, solemn voice, "Auntie, don't blame yourself. With me here, she'll never suffer another scratch again." His tone was firm, filled with an unwavering determination. Grady was locked up, awaiting the Wolf Clan's final judgment. This time, he had no chance of escaping. Uncle Gab had assigned guards who watched over him around the clock, guards armed with silver chains that could suppress werewolf powers. My shoulder needed 8 stitches, and Dawson stayed by my side at the clinic almost without leaving my side for a moment. He changed my dressings, prepared meals for me, and even clumsily tried to learn how to cook the vegetable soup I loved. Jenna laughed and teased him, "Dawson, you're treating Ash like a fragile treasure." He just blushed slightly, saying nothing in reply, yet his eyes kept lingering on me, brimming with an unspoken tenderness. My wound is gradually healing, and a new scar has appeared on my shoulder, echoing the one on my leg. But this time, I no longer see these scars as marks of shame. They're proof that Dawson has been watching over me, medals I wear proudly as I leave the past behind. One twilight evening, I was strolling slowly across the pasture grass, with Bailey and Buck by my side. Dawson approached, holding a single yellow dandelion in his hand. The setting sun stretched his shadow long and thin, and his green eyes were filled with tenderness and earnestness. "Ashlyn." He stopped walking and looked at me, his voice slightly deeper than usual. "I've been blaming myself for not protecting you properly that day, letting you get hurt." "It's not your fault," I interrupted him. "Grady was just too crazy. You already saved me." He shook his head, then reached out to gently brush the gauze bandage on my shoulder, a touch so soft it seemed as if he were afraid to hurt me. "From the very first time I saw you at the gas station, I knew you were a brave girl. In the rest stop, the gentleness with which you stroked the horses. In the clinic, the focused way you worked. And then there was that day. Though you were clearly scared, you still bravely stepped forward to protect your mom. Each and every time, it only made me more certain. I really do like you." He took a deep breath and held out a dandelion toward me, his green eyes sparkling with genuine warmth. I'm not pitying the hardships you've endured. I'm admiring your resilience and kindness. I want to be the one who'll always be by your side, protecting you. I want to live with you on this ranch, watching you heal even more animals. I want to face every storm and every challenge together with you. I want to grow old alongside you. Ashlyn, would you let me be your partner? I looked into the starlight in his eyes, at the tiny dandelion he'd offered me. The ache in my shoulder seemed to vanish, and a warm wave of emotion surged through my heart. The shadows of the past had been chased away by Dawson's tenderness and unwavering protection. The man standing before me had proven his love through his actions. I took the dandelion, smiled and nodded, then couldn't help but let tears roll down my cheeks. I'm willing, Dawson. The day news of Grady's execution by the werewolf clan spread throughout the ranch. Monta received a rare downpour. The rain washed over the ranch's fences, as if trying to erase all traces of the bloody past. Dawson and I stood under the same umbrella in front of the stable, watching Bailey and Buck play joyfully in the rain. His hand held mine tightly, and the warmth of his palm chased away the chill of the raindrops. That day, I was at the clinic examining a newborn foal when Jenna suddenly burst in, looking frantic. Ash, something's wrong. Someone's broken through the fence on the east side of the ranch, and 3 stallions are missing. My heart sank. I grabbed my coat and ran out immediately. Dawson and Uncle Gab were already by the fence. Deep claw marks lay on the ground, along with a pool of dark red blood, horse blood. Dawson crouched down, his fingertips brushing against the claw marks. His expression grew grave. These are Wolf Clan's paw prints, but the force behind them is far stronger than that of an ordinary hunter. It almost feels deliberate. It's Grady's remaining followers, Uncle Gab said in a cold voice. He'd already recruited a few outlaws from the wolf pack back then, probably hoping to take revenge for him and steal the horses just to vent their anger. As soon as he finished speaking, the ranch's alarm suddenly blared again, this time from the direction of the main house. Mom, my heart sank, and I broke into a run toward the main house. Dawson immediately followed close behind, shielding me tightly with his body. The front door of the main house had been smashed to pieces, and several werewolves clad in black leather coats were surrounding my mom. At the head of the group stood a man with a rugged, brutish face and a gruesome scar across his left eye, the very same man who'd been Grady's closest ally, Roy. My mom was huddled in the corner of the sofa, her face deathly pale, yet she still clutched a fruit knife tightly in her hand, her eyes blazing with stubborn defiance. Caroline, hand over Alpha's niece, and give us half of the ranch's stud horses, and we'll let you live, Roy sneered, his gaze sweeping over Dawson and me as we burst in. Well, look who's here, the useless daughter of Grady. And you, traitor Dawson, you actually sided with outsiders against your own people. Dawson stepped in front of me and Mom, his green eyes instantly sharpening like blades, his entire body radiating the intimidating presence of a hunter. Roy, Grady has committed countless atrocities and deserves nothing less than death. You've colluded with him, tormenting your own kind. Today, you won't leave this place alive. Leave, Roy scoffed, waving his hand at his men. We're here to exact revenge. The Lone Wolf Ranch has been harboring murderers. It's high time they paid the price. Several werewolves immediately lunged forward, their eyes blazing with ferocity and their movements charged with unball, murderous energy. Dawson instantly transformed into a chocolate-colored giant wolf, charging forward. His fangs sliced through the air as he locked horns with one of the werewolves. Without a second thought, I summoned the Wolf Clan's power within me. My nails grew longer, my pupils contracted, and I lunged toward the werewolf closest to me. This was the first time I'd truly faced another human. Past fears had vanished completely in the face of my determination to protect my mom. I dodged the werewolf's sharp claws and landed a powerful punch right on his chest, using the force of the blow to send him crashing to the ground. But the opponent was an experienced hunter after all. He quickly rolled over and sprang back to his feet, his claws grazing my arm and leaving 3 deep scratches. Ash, watch out, Dawson roared when he saw me wounded. Shaking off his opponent, he leapt swiftly to my side, slamming the werewolf away with all his might. His massive wolf form stood between us, his green eyes filled with intense worry, but even amid his anxiety, he couldn't help but remind me, don't go head-to-head with him. Protect yourself and Auntie. I nodded, gritting my teeth against the pain in my arm and charging forward once more. My mom, too, mustered her courage and slashed a werewolf's leg with a fruit knife, catching it off guard as it tried to ambush me. The three of us stood back to back, locked in a standoff with Roy's men. The sound of rain, the howls of wolves, and the clash of weapons mingled together, sending the glass in the main house vibrating ominously. Just as we were starting to gain the upper hand, a group of ranch hunters arrived on the scene. But instead of immediately coming to our aid, they stood aside, watching us with complex expressions in their eyes. The lead hunter, Eric, frowned deeply and turned to Dawson. Dawson, why on earth would you help an outsider? Ashlyn is Grady's daughter. She might have already been colluding with Roy all along, planning to join forces from within and take over the ranch. Eric was one of the ranch's veteran hunters, and he'd always harbored some resentment toward me, the outsider. Who would have thought that, of all times, he'd actually start questioning my loyalty? Eric, what are you talking about? Dawson immediately reverted to his human form and stepped in front of me, the bloodstains on his body lending him an even fiercer demeanor. Ashlyn has never colluded with Roy. She's been protecting the ranch, protecting all of us. Protecting? Eric sneered. Her father was the murderer who slaughtered his own kind. Where could she possibly be good? Maybe she's been plotting this whole thing all along, trying to take revenge for Grady. Several other hunters chimed in, echoing his words. That's right, Alpha. We can't trust her. After all, she's Grady's daughter. Keeping her around is just asking for trouble. Uncle Gab frowned, his gaze sweeping over everyone. Enough. Ashlyn is my niece, and I know exactly what kind of person she is. Roy's after revenge, and Ashlyn has nothing to do with it. Alpha, you're just too soft-hearted. Eric took a step forward, his tone laced with dissatisfaction. Ever since she showed up at the ranch, there's been nothing but trouble. First Grady came looking for trouble, and now it's his remaining followers. If this keeps up, that ranch is bound to be ruined by her sooner or later. Seeing the situation unfold, Roy immediately stoked the flames. Eric's right. Gab, you're hiding the murderer's daughter. You don't deserve to be an alpha at all. Today, we're not just going to get our revenge. We're also going to purge the pack of those who've betrayed us. His words were like a fuse, igniting the simmering discontent among some of the hunters. Two hunters even quietly stepped over to Roy's side, clearly swayed by his persuasion. The tide had turned in an instant. We'd gone from having the upper hand to being surrounded on all sides by Roy's men and the rebellious hunters. Mom gripped my hand tightly, her voice trembling as she said, Ash, don't be afraid. Mom's right here with you. Dawson took my other hand, and the warmth of his palm seemed to infuse me with strength. No matter what they say, I believe in you. We'll fight them together. There's no way we can't win. I looked into Dawson's firm green eyes and then at my mom's face, which wore a mix of worry and stubborn determination. All hesitation in my heart instantly vanished. Even if the whole world doubted me, I'd still do everything in my power to protect those around me and safeguard this hard-won home. Roy, if you're looking for revenge, come after me, I said, taking a step forward, my entire body radiating the imposing presence of a werewolf. But you shouldn't have harmed the ranch's horses, and certainly not manipulated innocent hunters. Today, I'm not letting you get away with it. Instantly, Dawson transformed once more, charging straight toward Roy. My mom and I stood side by side, joining forces to battle the rebellious hunter. Uncle Gab, seeing what was happening, no longer hesitated. He transformed into a massive black wolf and leapt into the fray. Though Eric had once questioned me, when faced with a greater good, he chose to stand firmly on the ranch's side, joining the other hunters in their fight against Roy's forces. This battle was exceptionally fierce. Roy's men were all fearless, and the rebel hunters, fueled by resentment, launched an onslaught with brutal ferocity. To protect me, Dawson took a deep wound on his back from Roy's claws. Blood had soaked through his fur. Seeing this, I felt an overwhelming surge of pain and anger. With a roar, I summoned every ounce of strength left in my body, leaped onto Roy's back, and sank my teeth deep into his neck. Roy let out a guttural scream, then swung his hand wildly, his claws piercing deeply into my shoulder, the very spot that had been wounded by Grady before. The old injury flared up again, sending waves of excruciating pain that nearly made me lose consciousness. Yet I refused to let go, gripping Roy's neck tightly until I tasted the metallic tang of his blood. Taking advantage of the moment, Dawson pounced forward, his massive wolf fangs sinking into Roy's throat. Roy struggled briefly, then finally collapsed onto the ground, lifeless. Seeing their leader dead, the remaining rebels and rogue hunters instantly lost their will to fight. They were swiftly subdued one by the hunters led by Uncle Gab and Eric. By the time the battle ended, it was already dark. The clinic was brightly lit, and both Dawson and I lay on hospital beds, wrapped in bandages from head to toe. My shoulder had 10 stitches, and Dawson's back was badly wounded, so badly that the bone was visible through the deep wounds. Jenna was changing our dressings, and she couldn't help but sigh. "You two really went all out, especially you, Ash. Even though you knew you weren't a match for Roy, you still dared to charge right at him." I smiled and glanced over at Dawson beside me. He was looking at me too, his green eyes filled with tender concern. "From now on, you're never allowed to take such reckless risks again. I'll protect you. We're partners. We're supposed to fight side by side," I said, taking his hand and gently tracing the scars on the back of his hand with my fingertips. "Besides, I want to protect you too." Uncle Gab entered the room, holding a cup of warm milk, and handed it to me. "Ash, I'm sorry for putting you through all this hardship. Eric and the others already realized their mistake. They just came over to apologize to me a moment ago, saying they shouldn't have doubted you." I shook my head. "Uncle, I'm not mad at them. If I were in their shoes, I probably would have had my doubts too. But you've proven yourself through your actions," Uncle Gab said, his eyes filled with pride. "You're not only brave, you're also incredibly kind. Lone Wolf Ranch needs people like you. From now on, you're one of us, and no one will ever treat you like an outsider again." Just then, Eric walked in accompanied by several hunters, heads hung low, their voices sincere. "Ashlyn, we're sorry. We shouldn't have believed Roy's gossip and doubted you. We'll never forget how bravely you stood up to protect the ranch today. From now on, we're willing to follow your lead and guard the ranch with all our hearts." "Thanks, guys," I said with a smile. "Let's just let the past be the past. We're all part of Lone Wolf Ranch now. We should support each other instead of mistrusting one another." Eric and the others nodded, then quietly stepped out, their faces filled with guilt. In the clinic, only I, Dawson, and Uncle Gab remained. Our atmosphere was warm and serene. Dawson gently ran his fingers through my hair, his voice soft and tender. "Now, no one will ever question you again." I leaned against his shoulder, feeling his body heat. "Because you're here, Mom's here, Uncle's here, and so are all the folks on the ranch. This place is my home, and I'll protect it with my very life." As the day drew to a close and we finished our work at the clinic, Dawson and I would ride Bailey and Lightning across the ranch's vast meadows. The setting sun stretched our silhouettes long and slender, and the breeze carried the familiar sense of fresh grass and the comforting aroma of each other. "Ash," Dawson suddenly spoke one evening as we lay on the grass, gazing up at the stars, his green eyes brimming with earnestness. "Uncle Gab has been watching you closely lately. I think he has special expectations for you." "Expectation?" I tilted my head toward him, asking, "What expectation?" "The position of alpha." Dawson took my hand in his fingertips gently stroking the palm of mine. "The wolf pack needs an alpha who's strong, kind, and responsible. Uncle Gab is getting old and has been searching for the right successor. Not only are you his niece, but you've also proven your abilities through your actions. There's a good chance he's thinking of grooming you for the role." "I'm not up to it." I shook my head. Even though Eric and the others no longer doubt me, they might not necessarily respect me. Besides, I don't have any experience leading a wolf pack. I simply can't handle such a heavy responsibility. "You can do it," Dawson said, looking down at me with unwavering certainty in his green eyes. "You're brave, kind, empathetic, and you know how to heal others, whether they're animals or fellow humans. These are all qualities an alpha absolutely must possess." And besides, I'll always be by your side, supporting you and serving as your strongest backing. His words warmed my heart, yet I still felt a bit hesitant. Just then, the ranch's alarm suddenly sounded. A brief, sharp beep signaling that an anomaly had been detected, but didn't yet pose a threat. Dawson sprang to his feet in an instant and grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the stable. The north side surveillance triggered. It's probably some wild beast approaching. By the time we reached the monitoring room, Uncle Gab and Eric were already there. The screen showed a dark shadow darting past near the mountain stream, moving with incredible speed. It looked like a wolf, but even more agile than ordinary hunters. It's one of Roy's remaining followers, Uncle Gab said, his expression grim. Back then, Roy didn't just recruit the few we've captured. There was also a guy named Cole, his cousin, and the most cunning of them all. After Grady fell, Cole disappeared without a trace. I thought he'd long since left these parts, but who would have guessed he'd still be lurking nearby? What does he have in mind? I asked, frowning. Revenge, or seizing power? Uncle Gab's gaze was profound. He's always felt I favored outsiders and has been itching to replace me as alpha ever since. Now that Roy's dead, he'll probably try to exploit the news that you're set to inherit the alpha position, stoking discontent within the pack and launching a coup. Inherit the alpha position? Eric looked at Uncle Gab in surprise. Uncle, are you really planning to hand over your role to Ashlyn? Uncle Gab nodded, his eyes sweeping over all of us. That's right. Though Ashlyn is young, her abilities and character make her far better suited for this role than either of you. I'm getting old. I can't keep guarding the ranch forever. Eric's expression was mixed. He didn't say a word, but his eyes clearly betrayed a deep sense of resentment. I knew then, the seeds of a power struggle had already been quietly sown. The news that Uncle Gab was grooming me to become the next alpha quickly spread throughout the wolf pack. As expected, the ranch split into two factions, one led by Jenna and some of the younger hunters, who supported my claim to the alpha position. They believed I was kind, fair, and capable of bringing fresh vitality to the ranch. The other faction, led by Eric and several veteran hunters, argued that I lacked sufficient experience and was an outsider, simply unworthy of leading the pack. They favored Eric instead. After all, he was a long-time hunter on the ranch with a stellar record of accomplishments and deep-rooted seniority. The atmosphere on the ranch grew increasingly tense. Hunters often found themselves locked in arguments over even the smallest issues. Even Mom noticed something was amiss. Ash, maybe we should just stop fighting over the alpha position and settle down for good? Mom, this isn't about winning or losing, I replied. Hold on, Mom, I said, gripping her hand. Cole's target isn't just Alpha's position. He also wants to destroy the ranch. If I back down, he'll get away with it, and we'll still never have a peaceful life. Dawson had been standing firmly by my side all along, helping me manage the ranch's affairs and teaching me the rules of the wolf pack, as well as leadership skills. Don't worry, Dawson said one day when I was feeling down because of Eric's constant harassment. He pulled me into a hug. A true leader isn't defined by seniority or brute strength. It's defined by the hearts of others. You've already earned the trust of many people. Just keep being yourself, and sooner or later, Eric and the others will come around and recognize your worth. But things weren't that simple. Cole's schemes were becoming increasingly rampant. He'd even secretly slipped poison into the ranch's water supply, causing several breeding stallions to fall ill, and he'd gone so far as to bite the veterinary assistant who'd been caring for them. Everyone thinks it's my fault for poor management. Eric seized the opportunity to launch an attack. Ashlyn, you can't even guarantee the safety of the ranch. How could you possibly be an alpha? I suggest you just step down voluntarily and stop putting the ranch at risk. This isn't Ash's fault. Dawson immediately shot back. Someone tampered with the water supply. It's obvious it was Corgan. We should join forces to track down Corgan instead of pointing fingers at each other here. Who's to say you two didn't stage this whole thing yourselves, trying to frame Corgan and use the situation to eliminate your rivals? A seasoned hunter standing by Eric said with a sneering tone. More and more hunters began to echo Eric's remarks, and the situation quickly spiraled out of control. As I watched the crowd locked in heated arguments, a wave of helplessness washed over me. Just then, Uncle Gab entered the room. His commanding gaze swept across the entire assembly, and the clamor instantly fell silent. Enough. Uncle Gab's voice was icy cold. Ashlyn is the heir I've chosen. No one has the right to question that. Cole has been plotting behind our backs. We should be standing united, not suspicious of each other. Starting today, Ashlyn will take full responsibility for the ranch's security and management. Everyone must obey her orders, and anyone who disobeys will be dealt with according to the pack's rules. Uncle Gab's words left no room for further debate. Though Eric and the others were reluctant, they didn't dare defy him. But I knew this calm was only temporary. Cole was still lurking in the shadows, watching closely, and Eric and the others' resentment hadn't faded at all. A bigger storm was yet to come. Half a month later, late one night, I was jolted awake by a violent explosion. Outside the window, flames blazed skyward, and the ranch's alarm sounded piercingly, mingled with werewolf roars and the sounds of fighting. "What's going on?" Mom rushed in, looking frantic, her face deathly pale. Cole launched a coup. I sprang to my feet immediately and grabbed the dagger that Dawson had given me, its handle engraved with both our names. Dawson burst in right behind me, already clad in battle gear, his green eyes filled with alertness. "He's teamed up with Eric and several old hunters," he said, his voice tense. "They've seized the main house and the stables, and they've even set fire to the hay barn." "Mom, stay here. Lock the door tight. Don't you dare go out," I urged her, then rushed out after Dawson. The ranch was in chaos. Flames lit up the night sky. Cole, flanked by a group of masked werewolves, was locked in a fierce battle with the hunters who'd stood by me. Eric stood beside Cole, clutching a silver dagger in his hand, his gaze icy as he fixed it on me. "Ashlyn, wise up and hand over the Alpha's succession rights, or today will be your last day alive." "Eric, you're out of your mind," I roared. "Cole's just using you. He doesn't care about the ranch or the wolf pack at all. Once he becomes the Alpha, the ranch will be ruined under his hands." "Shut up," Cole sneered. "I'm the one who's most suited to be the Alpha. It's Gabe who's gone senile, choosing you, an outsider, instead. Today, I'm going to clean house and take back everything that's mine." He waved his hand, and a pack of werewolves immediately charged forward. Dawson instantly transformed into a massive chocolate-colored wolf and met them head-on. His fangs sliced through the air as he locked horns with Cole's men. I, too, summoned the wolf clan's power within me and shifted into my werewolf form. This was the first time I'd fully unleashed my true strength. My silver-white fur gleamed in the firelight, and my pupils had turned a deep, piercing blue. Back to back with Dawson, we plunged into a desperate battle against Cole's men. Cole's strength far surpasses Roy's. His werewolf form is black, towering in size, and his claws are tipped with deadly poison. Several young hunters who've been supporting me have already been scratched by him, wounds that quickly turned dark and swelled up. "Ash, watch out for his claws," Dawson warned, fighting alongside Cole while simultaneously shielding me. Cole's target was crystal clear, me. He dodged Dawson's attacks and lunged straight at me, his claws aimed directly for my heart. I sidestepped just in time, then swung my fist backhand at his chest, but his sheer brute force sent me stumbling backwards several steps. Just then, Eric suddenly launched a sneak attack from the side, plunging a silver dagger into my back. Silver weapons are deadly against werewolves. Once pierced, the consequences could be catastrophic. "Ash!" Dawson roared, ignoring Cole's assault and leaping forward to shield me, using his own back as a barrier to block the dagger. The silver dagger plunged deep into Dawson's back, and blood gushed out in an instant. His massive wolf form staggered, nearly falling over. "Dawson!" I roared, my eyes blazing with fury. Summoning every ounce of strength left in my body, I lunged at Cole and sank my teeth firmly into his neck. Cole let out a guttural scream, then swung his hand back sharply, his claws pierced deep into my back, the searing pain almost making me lose consciousness. But I refused to let go. I clamped down harder on his neck until I tasted the metallic tang of blood. Enduring the excruciating pain, Dawson transformed back into human form once more, yanked the dagger from his back, and lunged forward, aiming it straight for Cole's heart. Cole struggled briefly, then finally collapsed onto the ground, lifeless. Seeing Cole dead, Eric instantly lost all fight in him and tried to flee, but Uncle Gab, who had rushed over, blocked his path. Eric, Uncle Gab said coldly, his voice icy as he shifted into a massive black wolf, standing firmly in front of Eric. You've betrayed the wolf pack and colluded with an outside enemy. What crime could possibly be greater than that? Eric's face was deathly pale, and he sank to his knees. Alpha, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been swayed by Cole. Please spare me. The rules of the wolf pack must never be broken, Uncle Gab said, shaking his head. But considering your past contributions to the ranch, I'll spare your life. I'll revoke your status as a hunter, banish you from Lone Wolf Ranch, and forbid you ever to return. By the time the battle ended, dawn was nearly breaking. The ranch lay in ruins. The feed barn had been burned to the ground, several horses were wounded, and several hunters had sustained injuries of varying degrees. Both Dawson and I were lying in the clinic. Dawson had been stabbed in the back with a silver weapon. The wound was deep and would require a long recovery period. My own back had been stitched up with over a dozen stitches, and the pain was excruciating. Jenna and the remaining hunters were busy cleaning up the battlefield, while Mom stayed by our side in the clinic, wiping sweat from our brows and shedding tears at the same time. I hope we'll never have to go through something like this again. Uncle Gab came in, holding a delicate wooden box in his hands. He opened the box, and inside was a silver wolf-shaped badge, its surface intricately engraved with elaborate patterns. This badge was the symbol of the Lone Wolf Ranch's Alpha, a cherished heirloom passed down through generations of the Wolf clan. Ashlyn, Uncle Gab said, handing me the box with a look of deep satisfaction, you've passed the test. Not only did you bravely confront your enemies, but you've also earned the trust and respect of the entire wolf pack. From today onward, you're the new alpha of the Lone Wolf Ranch. I stared at the badge in the box, then glanced at Dawson, who stood beside me, weak but with an unwavering resolve in his eyes. My heart was filled with a mix of emotions. I took the box, put on the badge, and its icy coolness instantly brought me back to my senses. This wasn't just a moment of honor, it was a weighty responsibility. Thank you, Uncle, I said, rising to my feet. My gaze swept across everyone in the clinic. I know exactly what it means to be an alpha. From now on, I'll dedicate my life to protecting Lone Wolf Ranch and to safeguarding every single member of the wolf pack. No one will ever suffer another ounce of harm. I'll treat everyone with fairness and justice, making this ranch an even better place for all of us. The hunters rose to their feet and bowed deeply toward me. Greetings, Alpha. Dawson looked at me, his green eyes brimming with pride and deep affection. I knew you could do it. I just knew it. I stepped closer to him and gently took his hand. I couldn't have done it without you, Dawson. Would you be my beta? Would you join me in guarding this ranch and facing whatever storms lie ahead together? Dawson's eyes lit up. He nodded vigorously and clasped my hand tightly. I'm in, Ash. No matter what the future holds, I'll always be by your side, your strongest support forever.